Okay. This is Joy Lacheret. I am the administrator for Mature Musicians Group, and today we are interviewing with Dave Nichols. I think you're going to enjoy this interview. He's been an area musician for years. So I do want to welcome all my members who may be listening today and anybody else who decided to tune in. Hello, Dave. I'm glad you're here with us.
Hi there.
So, Um, I've known you for a long time. I was figuring I've known you now for close to 20 years.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
Yeah. And I really don't know a whole lot about your background and where you came from and like, what got you into music? What maybe were your first instruments that you used?
Okay. Well, I
And bands, I'm sorry, and bands that you played with.
oh okay. Uh, I was born in Texas a long time ago, but grew up in Iowa. I've been in Washington State since I spent 6 years in California, then the San Diego area, and then been in Washington State since 1980. Uh, I've been playing playing guitar for 50 plus years, since 1964. So that's how it's coming up on 60 years, I guess. And
That makes you a matured musician. You've got that.
I mature,
That's you
mature,
got your skills honed, right?
mature as in
Not
another
by
way of
age,
saying old.
by skill. It's by skill.
Yeah, I've been making music since my first instrument. Well, I don't know. I there is an old family story about how I was whistling before I could talk. I used to whistle on top of Old Smoky, and that's that's my beginning in music. But I played the trombone. I actually still own a
Wow.
trombone, but I haven't played it in probably 25 years. But been playing guitar since 64, something like that. Bass since about 69. I was a music major for while I was in college. I did not graduate. Family issues.
Yeah.
My mom got sick, and
Oh,
anyway,
sorry.
but I started playing piano around that time when I was in school. So I play a little keyboard, but mostly bass and guitar. Um, I sing a bit, no
Yeah,
more than
I've heard you sing. I know you sing a little more than a bit.
I have to.
Yeah.
Uh, th- th- I always figure with singing that there are people that really enjoy it. I'm not one of those people.
Really?
So I'll let people that really enjoy it do it. And if I need to, I can sing some. I'll sing some background, or I sing lead on a few songs, but it's not my favorite musical enterprise.
Yeah.
But,
So how old do you think you were when you first started playing?
well, I was played the trombone. I started the summer of that would be about 1958, 59, something like that. Uh, Summer after third grade.
Wow.
Uh, so that's geez, 63 years, something like that.
Wow.
It must mean
So
that must
so
mean that
you
I'm old.
you were in the third grade. So what did that make you? About 8 or 9 when you
Yeah,
started?
about like that. Yeah, yeah. 58. I was born in 1950, so
Okay.
um,
And then from that time on to the time that you first played with the band, uh, what was your experience at that time? I mean, what was your first band? Do you remember?
Well, yeah, I don't I don't believe we had a name.
Ah,
If we did, I don't recall it. But uh, a couple of friends of mine. We had two guitars and a drummer, and we actually played a gig out in front of the Food Giant store in Iowa Falls, Iowa.
wow.
Uh, uh, but that was, I think, our only gig. And then I started playing with a band called the Hideaways. Uh,
Oh, name.
and that was about I'd say 1965, so I was like 15, something like that.
What kind of music were you guys playing together?
We were doing surf music and a lot of that. We did a lot of surf tunes. So
Yeah, that was the
I
time for it. Yeah.
some Beatles and
Yeah.
a bunch
Turtles?
of
Did,
stuff.
did you
Huh?
do the Turtles too?
We might have done. I don't believe so. No, I don't
Ah,
think so.
okay.
No.
Yeah, I think the Beatles was the biggest thing back in those
Yeah, oh
times.
yeah, oh yeah. There's no doubt about that.
So were you playing lead at that time or bass or
Yeah, I was always. I've always been kind of a lead player on guitar. It just kind of came easier to me than it did to other people. So,
well, easier than what it's like for me.
well,
Cannot do that.
you're doing wonderful.
Thanks. So so what how did you learn this music? I mean, you were a music major, so was that music theory or what exactly?
When I was in high school, I've always been kind of curious.
Mm,
If if I wanted to understand something, I would dig into it, and music theory was I wanted to learn about what made chords on a guitar. I knew all your basic cowboy chords, G D A E, caged, all that stuff. But I started seeing things like seven. What's the seven up here? What's that mean? Or nine, or things like that. I wanted to know where that came from, and so I started digging into the library at school because, of course, there was no internet at that time,
yeah,
uh, and I couldn't find much information. But what I found fed my curiosity, made me, I picked up a few things here and there, and then after I graduated from high school, I went to Drake University and studied music there. And
uh-huh,
music theory was something that I had a lot of interest in, and that came very easily to me. It's something uh, that made a lot of sense to me, uh,
right.
and I'm still studying it today. So I guess I haven't learned it yet, but I'm still learning. So
I was reading in your bio that you must learn something really good because it said that you played with Chuck Berry. Can you tell us about a little bit about that experience?
well, it was just one night, but
Ah,
uh, Chuck was known, I guess. I don't think he's with us anymore. Uh,
yeah.
for booking gigs where he would just show up and the venue would provide the
Oh,
band,
yeah, yeah. They still
and
do that today.
that's what we were the band. Uh, we got paid in beer, and I'm afraid that they overpaid us that day. But Chuck complimented me and said I did a good job, and it was you're all good.
Oh,
Thank you.
yeah.
But
Oh, that must have been exciting.
yeah, it was. Oh yeah, it definitely was.
A lot of area musicians have told me that they've had the opportunity to play with Merle Haggard. Did you ever have that
No, I
opportunity?
wish I no, I never even saw Merle. So
Oh, no.
yeah, I would have loved to have, but he's one of my faves.
When you
But
got here, um, what was it? Did you say you moved here in the 1980s?
in
Yeah,
1980, we
yeah,
moved from San Diego to
right.
Eastern Washington in the Spokane area, and were there until 1986, and I started working over here. And we've been here since '86. So,
So in the 1980s, I understand that there were, well, I'm not sure if it was the 80s or when it actually started, but a lot of area musicians and country musicians that I was involved with have told me that there were a lot of clubs in Seattle and Tacoma that they used to play in. They played in practically every night of the week.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
were you here when that was going
no,
on?
I did not take part in that. That was before my time. I didn't. I really. I kind of laid off. I didn't play in a band or anything for almost like 20 years, from about, well, 19 when I left Iowa. Yeah, I played a little bit now and then, but mostly just played at home by myself for the till 1995 when we were over here, and I started. A friend of mine insisted that I come to one of his jam sessions. Uh, Tim Hill. We ended up playing in a band together for a few years, and oh, did I lose you? Are you still there? Well, anyway, huh. Uh, see if I can get in touch with you.
Hi, Dave. We had a
Well,
major interruption
oh, you're frozen.
again. And it just blocked me out, blocked you out. So I
Hate when that
apologize.
happens.
I apologize to my listeners for that, but this is a stream, and I guess we're not the only ones this
stuff
happened.
like stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can you remember what we were talking about? I think I had asked you the question about all the clubs and all the
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much before my time, but I know a lot of people that it was not. You're gone again.
I'm here.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm just being buzzed around like a ping pong ball here. Okay, so
Um, yeah, a lot of friends of mine were playing in those times, but
uh-huh.
it predates me. I
Oh, okay.
yeah, pretty much when I started playing, it was, weekends only. If there was anything, Friday and Saturday night, occasional Sunday things. But actually, I've been more busy in the week lately than back then. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, what's the pay like? Is it? I understand when I was playing with the band that Gold Rush Fever, if you remember that one,
oh yeah.
uh, that the pay was about the way it was back in the day, so it hadn't really increased. Has it gotten any better today, or is it still?
No, it's still pittances. No, I shouldn't complain. It's it would be hard to make a living playing, for the wages that are available. I know a number of guys that do
Yeah,
are making a living at it, and I have nothing but the utmost
great
respect
respect. Yeah,
for them. Dave Harmonson is one. Rod Cook is
yeah.
another.
Who
Uh,
is the other one? I missed
Rod
it.
Rod Cook,
I don't know him.
um, great guitar player. And there's a number of that. But for me, I did my 35 years in the real world, working 9 to 5, and between Social Security and my pension and the money I make gigging, we're getting by. So
Exactly. Well, I know a lot of the people in this area up north are it's a little different genre and a different group of musicians.
uh-huh.
But most of the people that I work with have been making their living at through their music and no other job. I mean, I personally don't know how they survived COVID, but apparently they did, and it's been slim pickings. But now it seems like things are opening up, and there's a lot of gigs out there. So hopefully they'll recover some of that. I understand a little bit about Roger Fisher had set up a fund to help them too. I'm not really, um, I don't know too much about that, and I'd like to get him on here to interview, but who knows? So,
Yeah.
speaking of COVID, how is that for you? I know for one thing, I try to practice every day, and then after a while, uh, after about 9 months of that, I got a little bored, and I said, "Well, I got to do something else." So I started writing songs, and I didn't even know I could. I appeared on Jessica's show, and
Uh-huh.
that's how it all started. So that was my COVID for me. And then I took lessons from you for the last year on the guitar. So, uh, what other than our lessons, what was going on during that period? I think we had like about a year and a half of all this.
Yeah, it was about 13 months without. I had one gig in 13 months. I
Oh,
played March 12th of 2020 was the last day of live music in Washington State, and
wow.
I played that night. Uh, uh, that was the last night at Dawson's. Uh, in Tacoma, and then I played a private party around Labor Day with some friends. And other than that, I didn't have any paying gigs for 13 months until April. I think we got I had a gig out in Maple Valley with one of the bands I work with, and but since then I've been probably playing about averaging about once a week in some fashion or another, with some band. Some weeks busier than others. I've had a couple of double days. I had that was I played an early day. I played from noon till 4 with Kimberly and 8 Second Ride.
Yeah.
In Bremerton. Was it Bremerton? Somewhere over there. And then I had to be in Burien, back across the bridge up I-5 to Burien to play with another band at 7 o'clock that night. So that was a full day.
Yes.
I try to avoid that, but it looks like I've got another one coming up.
Oh no.
I'm playing a birthday party somewhere over in the other side of the bridge, and playing a car show in Renton.
Oh yeah, those are always fun. I always enjoyed the car shows.
Early for that one.
Yeah.
10 a.m. 10 a.m. That's
in the morning.
In the morning, yeah.
Who's up at that time?
Not me ordinarily, or if I am, I'm just barely up. But
so, how many bands currently are you in at this time?
Oh,
now, and I want you to name them if you can, if it is appropriate.
Well, I can tell you bands I have played with since coming back in April. Mark Hurwitz and Gin Creek. The Dave
It's called what? I'm sorry. What was that called? Gin Creek.
Gin Creek, yeah.
Okay.
Mark Hurwitz and Gin Creek. The Dave Nichols band.
Yes.
Played with Tattoos. Tattoos has been a band I've been. My friends and I, we still play together every once in a while. Not as much as we used to, but it's always fun when we do. I've played with Kimberly and 8 Second Ride. I'm playing with Danny Waco coming up here in a couple of weeks. Let's see, what else? There's some others.
Are these country, or are these blues, or is it rock combination? What is it?
Sure. Whatever. I don't find it necessary to limit myself to one genre. I play whatever comes up, whatever strikes my fancy, I guess. There's always a little bit of country in whatever I play, but
a lot of country.
Play a Pelly, but I play. I don't know. I play pretty much anything.
So, if anybody out there wanted to hire you, how would they get a hold of you? Are you able to put anything on the website of Mature Musicians Group that would, so they can see like your playlist of where to find you, where to go see you in your bands?
Well, I always try to I use Facebook for my usage of Facebook is pretty much limited to one, wishing people happy birthday every day, and advertising for gigs.
Yeah.
I kind of stay away from all the other baloney that infests the Facebook and social media.
Yeah.
But I do use it for advertising, and so
And
yeah,
you okay,
I
great.
will start adding the your group to where I advertise.
Right.
Uh,
Please
yeah,
do.
absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, I think it's a change of pace. You're in a lot of different bands and a lot of different genres. And when you were with me, we did country, and you did it excellently. Um, so I think that it's kind of hard at this time to get to the right places to be able to advertise what you're doing in the future. And I would definitely encourage you to put any information like that here on my site.
I will do that.
Meditations. Okay. I nickname it the MMG group. So yeah,
MMG, I like it. That
yeah. So
that's good because I can ignore the matured portion of it
well,
because
that doesn't.
I'm not sure I qualify as mature,
Yes,
but
you do. The mature part of it is not about. It's not about age, but of course, when you hone your talents and your musical skills for as many years as you have, I would say your music is matured, and therefore you're a matured musician,
all
meaning
right.
that your skills have I mean
I
it's a
was I
lot.
was I was told that you have to grow older, but you don't have to grow up, and so that's kind of been the way I've tried to
Right.
try to get around the maturity questions.
Yeah. No, again, it's misunderstood because I'll have people on here that are younger, but they've been doing it since they were kids, and they're not they're not any particular age. They're very young in comparison to some of the other people that will be on the show. So age has very little to do with it. But I think musical talent doesn't just happen. And we were talking a little bit before the show about that, and you were telling me some interesting things about what you'd like to do in the future. So uh, I think as a musician, if I may call myself that, um, it takes you never stop learning, and
Right.
if you stop learning and you don't do anything, you start to stagnate, and when you stagnate, you start losing everything. I stopped for almost 3 years because I couldn't handle being on stage. And when I went back to it, I was lucky to get in a couple of bands and uh, not playing bands like yours. We played for retirement communities, and it really took me a lot to get back. And you've helped me do that.
It's that's something that has always come pretty easy for me. Is I very rarely am nervous about a gig or anything like that. It's
Your
uh,
stage fright's gone after all this.
well, yeah, it's kind of the point of it doesn't make anything better. It doesn't make it easier. It makes it more difficult if you're nervous, and you're not going to change anything. So why not just relax and enjoy it and yeah, it's you're either going to have fun or you're going to learn something or
I
both.
hear that. I absolutely
Uh,
hear that. So
yeah,
you
yeah, perfect world, you'll learn something and have fun.
So
Uh,
you were talking to me about learning something in the jazz world that you hadn't done, and you decided that you might like to give it a try.
yeah, that's always like I said earlier, I've been fascinated by uh, harmonies, by chords and the various ways of making chords and stuff. Uh, since since I was a teenager, that's been one of my most the things I enjoy doing most is figuring out the chords for songs and stuff like that. And one of the things I always wanted to do was learn how to play jazz. Well, but I just didn't find the time to do it. Well, that was what one of my COVID projects was to learn
Uh-huh.
a bunch of what's called the American Songbook, songs by Gershwin and Irving Berlin and Jimmy Van Heusen, and there's tons and tons of them. And so I've learned a bunch of that stuff, and I also started. Pardon me. I've been following a group on YouTube called the San Andrew Jazz Band.
San San Andrew.
Yeah, Andreu. They're located in Barcelona,
Wow.
and basically it's a music school. It's uh, mostly it's kids between the ages of 10 and 20 doing classic American jazz, either in a big band format or small groups or heavy vocal. But these kids are outstanding. They're just amazing, and there are hours and hours and hours of their performances on YouTube. I really strongly recommend giving them a listen.
Okay.
But one of the things I started realizing that YouTube was sending me a lot of their music and their bossa nova music. And so I started listening to that and studying that. So I spent a lot of time learning, I don't know, 50 or 60 different bossa nova songs during my COVID time.
Ah,
And it's so fascinating harmonically. It's just a delight.
so how is jazz different? I've not been a jazz person. I
Yeah.
guess I have country and rock and that kind of stuff. I obviously, but uh, I understand. Bill Grunner used to be one of my leads, and of
Uh-huh.
course he's passed.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. But um, he told me that there's a big difference between jazz, country, blues, and rock. Is there?
If he says so, there is.
Yeah.
I would not argue with Bill, but but to me, music is music. I mean, there are some basic fundamental things: rhythm, harmony, melody, uh, and that appear in all forms of music.
Right.
Uh, as a general rule, there are some basic premises for each style. Uh, yeah, it's hard to say. Pretty much everything goes back to of all popular music for the last 100 years goes back to the blues.
Uh,
A country, regardless, country, rock, jazz, it's all got blues in it. Uh, uh, basic music with using the blues scale, with basically pentatonic scale with a couple extra added notes. Um, but you find that in in blues, jazz, rock, country, pretty much everything.
Right.
Uh, so I tend to think that music is music.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't divide myself off. Uh, yeah, I like oh geez, jazzy blues is probably my favorite thing to play.
Who's your favorite artist in that category?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but well, a couple of names come up. A couple of names come up when I first think of that. One is Delbert McClinton.
Mhm.
Uh, Delbert is retiring this year. He's 80 years old, uh, but he has written some of the best country-ish, blues-ish, jazz-ish stuff. He refuses to be categorized, I think. Uh, and another is Lloyd Jones out of Portland, a great singer, jazz player, blues player rather. Uh, Plays some killer shuffles. I'm
Yeah.
a sucker for a good shuffle. And Lloyd's done some of the best shuffles. So uh, I steal songs from him on a semi-regular basis.
Well, I don't know any of these artists, but I can tell you after this interview, I'm definitely going to try to look them up. I'm still working on these 10 and 20-year-olds. I've got the sand part, and then, when I go into YouTube, what would I enter to hear these young people play
Oh,
jazz?
the kids.
Yeah.
Well, give me a second, and
Okay.
I'll use my other screen and come up with a good. If you type in, well, I'll see, San Andrew Jazz Band. Oops, I spelled it wrong.
I had a strange spelling. I know that.
There we go, San Andrew Jazz Band. Uh, yeah, you'll take you right there. Uh,
Okay, so I got the sound part. How do you spell that, Andrew?
Andreu.
Okay, sound band, just band,
Jazz Band.
jazz band. Okay,
Yeah. Actually, if you type in San Andrew, it may well autocomplete the rest of that,
okay.
but yeah, do the whole thing and yeah, it's YouTube is famous for rabbit holes. This is a rabbit hole unlike any other. You can go down there. I have been listening to these kids for over 2 years now, and I still find stuff that I haven't heard before. It's amazing.
Well, I definitely, for one, will go to that site and take a look at it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
highly recommend those guys.
um, so McClinton, Delbert McClinton, is that how he pronounced his name, Clinton?
Yeah, Delbert, Delbert.
Yeah.
I think if you just type in Delbert and hit enter, uh, it'll probably figure it out for you.
Okay.
There aren't that many people named Delbert.
So, are you going to get moving into the future? Do you hope to get a jazz band started? Is there any?
I would
Is
love to play. I would love to play in. I would like. I wish there were. I was aware of. Maybe there are, and I'm just not aware of it. Some jazz-oriented jazz jam sessions. I would love to start going to that and just introducing myself to the people there and see where that goes. I starting a band. I'm a little old to be starting bands.
another one?
There's a lot of work involved, and the biggest thing about starting a band, somebody has to provide the PA. I
Yeah.
don't own one. I've made it a point not to own a PA, and I almost broke down and bought one a little earlier because it was becoming. Yeah, I get a few gigs under my own name, and having to find a PA
Yeah.
to satisfy those gigs was becoming difficult. But I don't have that many gigs right now, so.
Well, if you ever need any equipment, I'll have to talk to Kurt about it, but we have all that.
Okay.
We just don't have we don't have this new stuff that Billy uses. I mean, he's got some kind of computer thing, and I watched him for some time now try to deal with that thing and make it work at the Twin Dragon in Duval when the Friday night jams are going on.
Uh-huh.
And oh, I think that technology looks like it would be hair pulling. So we don't have that, but we do have mixer boards and amps and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, I hopefully that urge is past. But
well, if you ever nest out there,
all right, great, thank you.
And then I obviously we've discussed it a couple times that I am your student, and I'm learning the cage system from you as well as the fretboard and trying to figure out the timing on a lot of stuff, because when you play, I think, in my opinion, when you play with a jam band, you can get off the beat real easy, especially because nobody knows that kind of music up here in the North End very well. So it gets kind of difficult to get everything right.
One thing I've learned about jams is you want to choose songs that
everybody knows and nobody knows here.
Or are so
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Well, it can. It actually can.
Well, I've been doing it, so obviously it does.
You can make it work. You leave the, you don't need to play Freebird.
Yeah.
Or I mean, there's a lot of songs that you probably want to skip. In a jam environment.
I do, but you know what? I have found that there's some really good musicians up here, and they don't know a lot of country, but they know a little country, so they have some kind of idea how it works. And I managed to struggle through it, but I've lost some of my timing. I don't think I ever had really good timing, but it's it's because I think I never. I don't know. I just didn't realize I was where I was making my mistakes, etc. But anyway, this all brings me to your abilities to teach, and I think I'd like the listeners to hear that some of the things that you've done, people that maybe you've mentored or taught. I know I'm one, and I do see improvements. Not as fast as I'd like, but yeah.
I've periodically done a few lessons. For a couple of years, I used a studio in Tacoma a couple of days a week to teach lessons. I have not been doing much. Well, my studio space got sold out from under me. So I was without a studio, and I didn't from that point up until I started working with you online, just doing these things via Facebook Messenger or whatever technology online. I hadn't done lessons for a couple of years, but I keep thinking that I ought to push that a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Come up with a studio or something. That's the only issue, is finding space for it.
Well, there is a rental I don't know if it's orally or just how he does it. But Shad Witzman has the
Uh-huh.
yeah, Decades Sound Studio,
Yeah,
and he does rent space for an hour for bands to practice or whatever, and to give lessons, etc. So
I
it's
should
fairly
talk to him.
reasonable.
Yeah, I should talk to him.
Hmm.
Uh, he's a good guy, and that's a nice studio. Uh,
Yes, it is.
it's a gorgeous studio. Jeez,
Yeah,
that's good.
he's got some really nasty in the sense. I don't want to say the word bad. You know what? Um, Kinds of mixing boards and sound and
Got pretty much everything you could use.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, he does. He's
yeah,
really set up. So I do hope you give that a thought for the future.
yeah.
I think we've covered your interests as far as working with some of the knowledge that you're gaining from these jazz band uh, endeavors that you're doing. You are an instructor, and I've had you for a year, and I would highly recommend you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And is there, and I know that you belong to a lot of bands, and hopefully when you put that information out, um, people will see it. And if they need somebody as a bass player or whatever, they will contact you because I know that you pick it up really quick. And anything I've brought up to you that's new or whatever, you just really quick at getting it. So
Oh,
it would be
thank
a
you.
good stand-in. You're welcome. It'd be a good stand-in for anybody's band if they need a player. I I don't think you do drums, so I've never seen you on
Oh,
drums.
I've avoided that.
I think you've missed a steel too. I know you have a steel. You told me.
I, I still, it's still set up. One of these days, I'm going to start using it again. That's that's uh, that's the reason it's still set up because if I put it away, I
Yeah,
probably will never take it
that
out
should
again.
been. Yeah, I
Uh,
hear you.
it's and I should probably start playing it, either that or sell it, one of the two. It's not doing anybody any good sitting there.
Well, if you decide to sell it, put it on our site. In this case anybody needs a steel?
All right.
I hope you don't, but
Nah, it's not coming up right away. Anyway.
all right. Well, I do want to thank you for interviewing with us today. We do have a few more
Absolutely. Thank
minutes
you for
left.
having me.
The problem is I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'm going to have to figure out why I can't communicate with the audience. So at this point, I haven't even had anybody make comments or whatever. So hopefully, when I put this on the site, it'll be on Matured Musicians site and Facebook site that people will listen to it and take what they can from it and see the information that you post.
Well, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome, Dave. So I do want to wish you the best of luck in the future. I'm glad COVID is kind of over. I think we're going to have
Yeah,
some
hopefully.
issues with Delta. Yeah.
I'm afraid of that too. But
What would you
just
do
get
if they shut down
just get
music?
your shots. Okay. Anybody out there that's questioning the science, get your shot, please, so the musicians can go back to work.
I agree.
Uh, yeah, 'cause that's the cure for this. Oh, anyway, all right. That's as political as I get.
Well, good. Thank you so much for interviewing with us today. I enjoyed my time with you. And I
Absolutely.
will
Thank
see
you.
you Wednesday on the 11th.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
All righty. Take
Take
care.
care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for listening today. I hope if you get the chance to listen to the interview because you weren't able to hear it at this time, it will be posted on the sites. And I wish you a very good rest of your day. Anybody who hasn't been vaccinated, as David said, I hope you get that. And have a great, wonderful rest of your day and week. And I will see you next Monday at 2 o'clock, same time, same station, Amateur Musicians Group. Bye, guys.